from our members' perspective, or the story that we have seen over the past year, is that, again, in the beginning, people don't know what we're talking about. And then they say, okay, this is something theoretical, this is something that will affect future generations, economic value. And then, after more effort, you find a story like Muhammad and many other members who decided, okay, if we are able like this.
Thank you very much, Kamal. In the factories, wherever, renewable energy is not going to make your product more expensive. Maybe it's a higher investment, but on the long run, it's going to make your product cheaper. This is nice to know. Huh? So we have one sector where there is an alternative. But not all the sectors are there. So for some other activities, when you choose more responsible sources of raw materials and, then you're more expensive. So the story of Sekem, and obviously it's a story which started 45 years ago, and many of you know it, but it is, besides that it's a miracle in the desert, and there are many, many thousand people in the community and hundreds of farmers, but let's jump over all this and say, this is yes, great, but still in the marketplace in Egypt, when you go into the supermarkets, and I hope that all of you and many of you are buyers of Isis or Sekem or whatever products, but it's still more expensive. Okay, we have to acknowledge. I have to acknowledge. So in the same spirit that you have to acknowledge, it is the right thing and everything, but it's more expensive up till now. Okay, and there is something where I would like you in your final round to take a little bit notice of. There comes in something which we all have to learn. It's not on our agendas. I didn't know it. It's called two-cost accounting. Two-cost accounting, you hear it, but what does it really mean? Two-cost accounting, which tries to reveal what is the real cost. Because in reality, organic products are cheaper than conventional products. When I tell you this, then you go into Carrefour and it's more expensive. So why it's not more expensive on the shelf? Why it's not cheaper on the shelf? Because it's allowed in our economic system, and this is now legal and auditing issues, it's allowed to externalize some of my costs. Huh? And I can produce things and then push pollution of the water to the tax bill of water. So it's not in my cucumber. Or I push, I don't know what, pollution of water or health impact of pesticides to the health issue. So I push two costs to other accounts, and still it doesn't show on my cucumber. And it's very obvious on the climate issue. On the climate front, the CO2 front, let's say, organic food does not emit CO2 like conventional, but it's sequesters, and it makes the opposite. Okay? So this is nice to know, but still it is more expensive. So what we did, and what I think we should also try to search for in other business models, we thought, how can we monetize this ecosystem service? And how can we make the organic cucumber cheaper than the conventional? And the CO2 market, carbon market, is a very nice tool to do this, because now for the first time I can honor a farmer who produces organic products and give him money for the ecosystem. So he produces the cucumber, okay, and gets the same price as everybody else. It's not more expensive. But then he gets additional income on the CO2, on the carbon certificates, which he gets, and which Sammy buys to offset, or any one of us, or Isis buys to offset. But this is another account. Right? It's my offsetting account. So the cucumber stays at the price. Because we want every Egyptian to eat organic. We want every farmer in Egypt to produce organic, and not at higher cost. No? So I think in the food market, we are at the beginning of a system change, which will happen over some years to come, but it will very soon be the case that you get organic products at the same price. And then it's easy, then it will happen. Huh? Then you don't need to export anymore, then you can sell in the local market. But this is what it needs. So we need to search where are these tipping points where we can make it happen that the environmental and socially sound products are cheaper, I think this is what we can reach when we apply two-cost accounting. And our example is just an example for a sector where it's not obvious. We are more expensive, but we want to get more cheaper to make it a mainstream issue. Because in the end, what do we need? All companies of Egypt. And it's nice to have 600, 700 companies, but there are 70,000 companies in Egypt. So we are still not enough. And we need not only to feed consumers, but we want to feed all consumers everywhere with sustainable products, not only food, but even for plastic, even for products you have. So this is just my story. I wanted to share that I think we have to join together, search where are the acupuncture points where we can really change the system. And they are available, I'm sure, in every single industry, because they will come, and the pressure on us, the crisis of climate on us, will make them come up. So we can, from now on, search for them. So in this sense, I think we are at the beginning of a total system change, even of our economic system, of our business, and we need to be leaders to do this, and let's get a joint forces on it. So in the final round, we have now remaining 5 minutes. I would like every one of us just to give a little bit an outlook. What does he hope for when we meet before Cop28, the next COP in Dubai? What did we achieve? On which fronts did we take some steps forward? And I start with you again, Mohammed. You are lucky to see this.
Well, of course, I mean, apart from speaking at the beginning, but of course sitting beside you, of course, being very lucky. Yes, no, but thank you, Henry. I mean, I learned from what you just said, I learned a lot. And that's exactly the objective of something like what we were saying. So I'd love to see Chapter 0 building a database of stakeholders, not only members. I mean, I know it's nice to achieve a good number of members for an NGO. That's not my objective. My objective is to make sure I have a sufficient database of knowledge partners. And knowledge partners could be universities, could be regulatory bodies, could be companies like good yourselves, where you can add value to other members with all the experience you've gone through. So that's my objective. My objective is build that database, start connecting the stakeholders with each other, make sure we all learn from each other, and take it to the next step. So I hope we've left that with the message, bridge the gap between where we want to reach and where we are today in terms of climate governance.
Thank you very much, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, for me, if you ask me what's my hope is, I mean, in the plastic packaging as well as the chemical manufacturing, we have the same issue, is that if you want to use more sustainable products, you're more expensive. And you know, sometimes when I sit with clients and I try to tell them that actually if they use recycled plastics, it will be more expensive than using prime version plastics. Of course, they think I'm crazy. I mean, what kind of a sales pitch is this? Hey, if you use recycled plastics, it's actually going to be more expensive. So usually I get shown, I get to be shown the door very quickly. But basically, what my hope is, and that's why we're working, whether as a plastic company or a chemicals company, is to wait for the tipping point. You know, the more companies go into this path of green transformation, the more you have clients going in, the more you have stakeholders pushing for that. There will come a tipping point when you could have equilibrium or stability in the market, where actually it would make more economic sense. So that's my hope, and that's why we're pushing. But to be honest with you, this is not going to happen before COP28. So if you ask me what do I hope for within the next year, it will be, my hope will be in terms of the GDP, is that at least Egyptian companies will have a blueprint. If yes, they are on board in terms of values, in terms of yes, we want to go into the green transformation, we want to be part of the change, we want to be part of the solution, is that they'll have a path, a blueprint on how to go there, whether it's in terms of ideas, in terms of case studies, in terms of finance, So that's, I think, where we can do in the short term.
Thank you very much. I will. I hope we can work together on plastic credits. Kamal.
I think the starting point will always be education and awareness, as I said. And this is for the businesses, this is for the government, for the financial institutions to understand the Egyptian market more, for the different stakeholders, so not to focus on one area and leave out the others. The work on finance has to continue. I've seen from a personal perspective as a service provider, we've seen now more funds investing in companies in Egypt, focusing on ESG and other, going green generally. I think, and now it's a time with the attention that has been given to green transformation in Egypt on the occasion of hosting COP. I think now is the time to look to dive into sectors, as you mentioned, and this is where an organization like EJD and others, we can start going through our different sectors. Agriculture is important, and I know this is you've given a lot of support to our committee there, other committees as well. One thing I would love to see on the short term before COP28 and where we can do some change is, as a lawyer, I would say some regulatory and legislative reforms that would reduce the barriers and make it easier for companies and businesses that try to go green, and this can be a whole other topic. There can be so much to be said about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and also give us your dreams for what will happen on the short and maybe long term.
My dream for what would happen on you said increase awareness on the idea of how, to what extent this has an impact on our climate and the climate and the world that we're leaving ourselves and our children and the generations beyond that. And then for more immediate steps, we need to be looking at, ideally by next year when we're discussing these one path is the financing aspect. Like we've said here, it is expensive. We do need to make it financially feasible. And then the other path is actually assisting these companies from a technical perspective. You know, assisting, because it is not easy to do. Assisting them in the statistical analysis and the modeling to reduce their emissions and so on, and actually guide them down that path. If we're able to achieve that, or a portion of that by next year, I would be happy.
Let's join forces to get all this on the ground. And I want to thank all the panel here, and thank you for for attending. And I think we are all committed, and hopefully some of you will join us. Thank you very much.